Rich Tehrani with TMC here. Thanks for watching. We're at Interop 2013. I'm speaking with Alex with QualiSystems. Alex, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great. How are you doing?
Great. So start at the top. Tell me just briefly about the company and what you're showing here.
All right. QualiSystems is it's a company that's been around since 2004, and we specialize in automating the test and lab and cloud data center environments. So basically our solutions kind of fall into a couple of different areas. One of them is in the arena if you've got a big test lab environment or multiple test lab environments and you want to turn that into a service cloud. And the way you need to do that is, and the reason you might want to do that is to consolidate resources, you want to save money on capital and power and space. And so you want to move from a very manual process of operating these huge testing data center environments to a way that's really operated through software. So all the inventorying, the control, the connectivity, and how you provision and run everything is through a software interface as opposed to people running around and doing things manually. So that's one aspect of what we're doing. Another aspect of what we offer is in the cloud data center arena. It's basically taking the same kind of automation and applying it to the complexities of setting up and assessing the performance of a hybrid or a private cloud environment where you need to bring up all the servers and network and storage, actual physical assets as well as all the virtual assets, orchestrate all of that, bring up a test, run it end to end, report on that, and know it's going to actually perform for the applications you want to run.
Excellent. Now, a lot of testing vendors at this show, and a lot not here. How do you compare and contrast and differentiation?
Sure. So it's an interesting company because we're not a testing vendor. We don't sell a testing tool or test generator. What we're selling is a software that orchestrates how you apply testing in your environment. So let's say if the typical process in that environment is that you want to set up a test of a network, and you've got test generators from Ixia or Spirent or something like that, and you want to, so you've got to connect all these pieces. So someone's crawling through a big data center, trying to find all the pieces of equipment, then they're connecting them together manually, and oops, maybe they broke someone else's test because they forgot which port it was. So that takes a tremendous amount of time. After that, then they sit around at a console and type in configuration commands and load up OS images and all that sort of thing. And this process can take hours to days. And what we're doing is basically saying, instead of doing that manual process, apply a software automation to that. Take all the inventory in, design the way that you actually put together that test topology in the software, have it execute it, have it provision all those pieces. So now what you're doing is getting a much better utilization out of all those resources because you can schedule them instead of people running all over each other.
Just some of the concepts you talk about, another big trend here is software-defined networking. Just reminds me of just what some of the benefits of software-defined networking. Are there any analogies there?
Well, I think there's an analogy and a connection to how SDNs are going to evolve. So the analogy is that instead of having things being very hardware defined, you're trying to extract value into a software layer with SDNs, with software defined networking. And I kind of like to say that we're a software driven or software defined way of doing testing as opposed to a hardware defined way. The connection to it that we see is that the evolution of SDNs is going to mean that you're taking a piece of equipment that has had all the functionality inside of it and a very static and reliable, long-proven architecture, and you're going to kind of explode it into all these different networked components. It's now a network application. There's a lot of unknowns. There's all these sorts of APIs that are going to be somewhat vendor-defined. And the interesting thing is that the reason for SDNs is to become more agile. Right? You want the network to become more agile, be responsive to the line of business application needs. But if the rest of your business processes, like how you test this stuff, isn't agile, that's going to really slow down your ability to deliver the benefits of SDN. And so we like to say that you need to have a software-driven testing process for software-defined networks.
Now for those people that are out there watching this and are considering working with you, and let's say they have a greenfield testing environment, how do they take the next steps, what would you advise them to do? Do they work from the bottom up, talk to Spirent, Ixia, and then buy all of that equipment, and then talk to you, and then try to find a system to work it all together? They start top down, or do they do it all at once?
Well, I would say if you have a greenfield that you're starting small, your focus is really going to be, on almost on an individual ad hoc use basis because it's a small enough environment. If you're working in a single rack of equipment, once you start growing and you have more and more equipment that you're deploying, that's where you need to start thinking about sharing. And so you can think about it as sort of like a maturity model approach. In a small environment, it's an individual user. Once you get to a team and you've got multiple racks of equipment, utilization and sharing becomes an important concept because if you can't share, then you're going to have to spend a lot more on more and more equipment because you utilize it poorly. So there's sort of an evolution of your approach based on how much you're needing to spend and how many people need to share it.
Excellent. Any final thoughts, closing things you're going to be doing next?
So I think some of the things that we're really going to be doing is increasingly showcasing how a lot of our customers are getting tremendous sort of savings benefits out of this approach, as well as competitive benefits, meaning that if you can automate your approach to testing, then if you're trying to get a product or service or even an enterprise application delivered, you can crush down the time by automation so much that you can consider maybe adding a new release per year. That's not just a savings issue, that's really a strategic business benefit.
Thanks, Alex, appreciate it.
Thanks very much.